Watch as excellent computer business brings to you a powerful story. Title: The Inventory of Tomorrow. In the bustling heart of a rapidly growing city, where dusty roads blended into shining glass skyscrapers and the hum of daily life echoed through crowded streets, stood a quiet warehouse that almost no one noticed. It wasn't tall like the towering tech headquarters, nor was it lively like the open markets filled with traders and buyers. It stood quietly, almost invisible to the public eye. Yet inside that warehouse lived one of the most powerful forces shaping modern society. It was not a factory. It was not a data center. It was something far more subtle. It was a place where technology was not just stored, but understood. The warehouse belonged to a modest but visionary company called NovaGrid Solutions, a firm dedicated to managing technology inventory for businesses, schools, hospitals, and government institutions. To the average person, the word inventory simply meant counting items, chairs, tables, boxes, or goods in a store. But at NovaGrid, inventory meant something deeper. It meant understanding the very lifeline of the modern world. At the center of this story stood a young systems analyst named Kelvin Ajagba, a man driven not only by intelligence, but by curiosity and purpose. Kelvin believed that every piece of technology had a story. Every laptop, every server, every router, every sensor was more than just hardware. To him, each device represented opportunity, connection, and impact. And he was determined to uncover that story. Chapter 1. The First Count. Kelvin's journey began with what seemed like a simple assignment: conduct a technology inventory audit at a public secondary school. When he arrived, the reality was far from inspiring. Rows of dusty computers sat in silence. Some flickered weakly to life, while others had long been forgotten. Teachers struggled daily with outdated systems, and students had little to no access to functional digital tools. It was a system that existed but barely worked. As Kelvin began tagging devices, documenting their conditions, and organizing records, a realization struck him deeply. This wasn't just about counting equipment. This was about opportunity, or the absence of it. Out of 50 computers in the lab, only 18 were functional. Internet connectivity was unreliable. There was no tracking system, no maintenance plan, and no accountability. The school had technology, but no control over it. Kelvin proposed a simple but powerful solution: a digital inventory system that tracked every device, its status, usage, and maintenance history. Within months, the transformation began. Broken systems were repaired. Functional ones were properly utilized. Teachers received training. Students gained access. Soon, something remarkable happened. Students who had never touched a computer were now learning to code. Some began designing simple applications. Others explored digital creativity. Teachers became more efficient. Lessons improved. Performance increased. All from one simple change: inventory. Chapter 2. The Hospital That Couldn't Wait. Kelvin's next assignment took him to a government hospital where the stakes were far higher. Unlike the school, this was a place where technology wasn't just important, it was critical. Lives depended on it. But what Kelvin found was troubling. Medical equipment was scattered across departments with no centralized tracking. Some machines were overused to the point of failure. Others sat idle, unused, not because they weren't needed, but because no one knew they existed. It was chaos disguised as a system. Kelvin and his team conducted a full-scale inventory. They tracked everything: X-ray machines, patient monitors, servers, backup generators, and diagnostic tools. What they discovered was alarming. Life-saving devices had gone years without servicing. Duplicate equipment had been purchased unnecessarily. Critical tools were sitting unused in storage rooms. It wasn't just inefficiency, it was dangerous. Using NovaGrid's system, they centralized all inventory data. Maintenance schedules were automated. Equipment usage was balanced across departments. Within 6 months, the hospital experienced a transformation. Diagnosis became faster. Equipment downtime reduced drastically. Costs were lowered. But most importantly, more lives were saved. Kelvin understood something profound that day. Technology inventory wasn't just about efficiency, it was about survival. Chapter 3: The Rise of Smart Cities. As Kelvin's reputation grew, NovaGrid secured a major project, designing the inventory system for a developing smart city district. This was a completely new challenge. Here, inventory didn't just include computers or machines, it included thousands of interconnected devices forming the digital nervous system of the city. Traffic sensors, surveillance cameras, smart streetlights, environmental monitoring systems, everything was connected, and everything had to be tracked. Kelvin led the project with precision. Every device must be accounted for, he told his team. If we lose track, we lose control. They built a real-time inventory system capable of monitoring device status, location, and performance across the entire district. The results were transformative. Traffic congestion reduced as smart signals adapted in real time. Crime rates dropped with intelligent surveillance systems. Energy consumption decreased as streetlights adjusted automatically. Air quality improved through environmental monitoring. Citizens never saw the inventory system, but they experienced its benefits every single day. The city became safer, cleaner, and more efficient. And once again, it all came down to inventory. Chapter 4: The Hidden Crisis. Despite these successes, Kelvin noticed a troubling trend. Technology was growing faster than it was being managed. Organizations were buying devices without tracking them. Governments were investing in infrastructure without maintenance strategies. Schools and hospitals were overwhelmed with outdated systems. This led to what Kelvin called the invisible waste. Unused devices gathered dust in storage rooms. Duplicate purchases drained limited budgets. Untracked systems created serious security risks. Electronic waste continued to grow, harming the environment. Kelvin realized that this was not just a technical issue, it was a mindset problem. He began advocating strongly. Technology is not just something we buy, it's something we must manage. Chapter 5: The Community Project. Determined to expand his impact, Kelvin launched an initiative called Tech Track Africa. Its mission was simple but powerful: help small businesses and local organizations manage their technology effectively. He started with cyber cafes, small shops, and startups. Most of them faced the same problems: no record of devices, frequent losses and theft, poor maintenance, unnecessary spending. Kelvin introduced simple inventory solutions, some digital, some manual. The results were immediate. Businesses reduced costs, productivity increased, security improved, growth became more predictable. One small printing business doubled its revenue simply by tracking its equipment properly. A struggling startup avoided collapse by identifying unused assets and reallocating resources. Inventory became more than a system, it became empowerment. Chapter 6: The Human Side of Technology. As Kelvin's influence grew, he realized something important. Technology alone does not transform society, people do. Inventory systems were only effective when people understood and used them correctly. So Kelvin shifted his focus toward education. He launched training programs for students, IT professionals, and organizational leaders. He taught digital asset management, best practices, and data-driven decision-making. His message was clear. Every device you manage represents a service to someone: education, healthcare, security, or opportunity. People began to see inventory differently, not as a task, but as a responsibility. Chapter 7: The Digital Economy Boom. As years passed, the digital economy expanded rapidly. E-commerce platforms grew. Financial technology reshaped transactions. Remote work became the norm. Digital services powered everyday life. With this growth came an even greater need for inventory systems. Organizations now depended on cloud infrastructure, data centers, employee devices, network systems. Kelvin helped businesses scale their inventory operations to manage thousands, even millions of assets. Automation became essential. Advanced systems powered by artificial intelligence could now predict equipment failures, optimize usage, detect anomalies, and prevent security threats. The impact on society was massive. Services became faster, economies became stronger, job opportunities increased, global connectivity expanded. Inventory had become the silent engine driving progress. Chapter 8. The Environmental Awakening. One day, Kelvin visited an electronic waste site on the outskirts of the city. What he saw shocked him. Mountains of discarded devices stretched endlessly. Broken computers, damaged phones, and outdated systems lay in piles. Children scavenged through toxic materials in search of value. It was a harsh reality. "This is the cost of poor inventory," Kelvin said quietly. If devices were properly tracked, many could have been repaired, reused, or responsibly recycled. Instead, they became waste. Determined to make a difference, Kelvin launched Green Inventory Systems. These systems focused on tracking the full life cycle of technology, from acquisition to disposal. Organizations began adopting sustainable practices. Devices were reused instead of discarded. Recycling became structured and responsible. Waste was significantly reduced. The result? Cleaner environments, healthier communities, a more responsible technology ecosystem. Inventory became a tool for protecting the planet. Chapter 9. The Future Vision. Years later, Kelvin stood once again in the warehouse where his journey had begun. But everything had changed. The once quiet space was now alive with activity. Large digital screens displayed real-time data from across cities, hospitals, schools, and businesses. Millions of devices were being tracked and managed. Technology was no longer chaotic. It was organized, efficient, and purposeful. Kelvin looked at his team with pride and said, "We didn't just manage inventory, we helped shape the future." Chapter 10. The Impact on Society. The impact of technology inventory had spread across every sector of society. In education, students gained equal access to digital tools and improved learning outcomes. In healthcare, patients received faster and more reliable treatment. In business, companies experienced growth, efficiency, and job creation. In security, cities became safer with better monitoring systems. In the environment, waste reduced and sustainability improved. But above all, inventory created opportunity. It ensured that resources reached the people who needed them most. Epilogue. The Silent Hero. Kelvin often smiled when people praised smart cities, mobile apps, and digital innovations, because he understood something most people didn't. Behind every successful technological advancement was something simple, often overlooked: inventory. The silent system that kept everything running, the invisible force that turned chaos into order, the foundation upon which the digital world was built. And as society continued to evolve, one truth remained clear. As long as technology exists, the inventory of that technology will shape the destiny of humanity. I hope you've learned something new from this story. Thanks for watching. Remember to share, comment, like, and subscribe to Excellent Computer Business YouTube channel for more powerful stories.